In those 2.5 years, I've experienced nothing but loneliness and misery. And my problem is girls.
A 22-year-old frustrated virgin uploads regular videos to YouTube talking about his magnificence, writes a 141-page declaration against women and bullies, and goes on a killing spree for retribution. Here are some YouTubers who filmed before they murdered. Mona Lisa Perez. How far we've come to just become famous. Mona Lisa Perez found out the hard way that her boyfriend, Pedro Ruiz, was all in for the fame game. Now, Pedro was an aspiring YouTuber who wanted to get famous by performing outrageous stunts. He took inspiration from his infamous idols on MTV's Jackass. But on June 26, 2017, the couple filmed a tragic first and final stunt. Mona Lisa shot Pedro in the chest, resulting in his death. Mona Lisa and Pedro had grown up together, became high school sweethearts, and had a 3-year-old daughter. Only a month before the incident, Mona Lisa informed Pedro that a new baby boy was on his way. Pedro, employed at a railway company, had the idea of starting a YouTube channel showcasing their lives. The initial idea was to show the life of a young couple navigating parenthood, and their content ranged from mundane daily routines to playful pranks. But Pedro here conceived the idea of launching a new channel centered solely around his daredevil persona. Pedro planned to blend his adventurous personality, all the crazy stuff in his mind, with Mona Lisa's family-centric content on her channel. He wanted to go big or go home, so for his first video, Pedro sought a jaw-dropping stunt to captivate viewers and generate an immediate impact. His idea was shocking as it was stupid. Mona Lisa would fire a gun at a book he held against his chest. He was convinced that this encyclopedia would stop the bullet from hitting him.
Safety on. That was one round.
In the previous clips, we can see a guy imitating Pedro's original experiment with a couple of office paper reams and a bottle of soda. After some trial and error, the guy shows that it would take a couple of reams to stop a bullet from a gun. But Pedro, who allegedly conducted the same kind of experiment using old books he had found in an abandoned house, chose none other than a flamboyant Desert Eagle 50 semi-automatic pistol. It's an intimidating choice, to say the least. A gun that looks like business and packs a serious punch. Maybe the guy just wanted the stunt to look extra impressive, and became so convinced of his safety that neither he nor his pregnant wife gave too much thought to what they were about to do. He even showed the lodged bullet to Mona Lisa, proving to her that everything would be okay. Everything was primed for him to become the next internet sensation. However, Mona Lisa stated she didn't want to participate even after witnessing the results of that experiment. Pedro insisted repeatedly, pestering the woman for 2 months until she finally agreed to help him. Mona Lisa posted a message on her Twitter, reading, "Me and Pedro are probably gonna shoot one of the most dangerous videos ever. His idea, not mine." So on the fateful day, Pedro chose a book measuring 1.5 inches thick and set up a couple of cameras and began describing the idea behind his new project, all while involving Mona Lisa as his assistant.
Okay, go. Come over here.
Even when the actual video showing what happened next wasn't released, a transcript was made available by authorities. "Babe, I'm not doing this. I can't," Mona Lisa told Pedro. She was pointing a loaded gun at a person holding an encyclopedia in front of his chest. Pedro had drawn a target on it and scribbled the words, "Please shoot here." A GoPro was set up on the couple's car and another on a ladder. Everything was being recorded for the channel Damn It Boy, this borderline crazy guy who was ready to attract subscribers taking all the risks. "Come on," Pedro said, urging Mona Lisa to pull the trigger, but the woman was still full of doubts. "Babe, if I kill you, what's gonna happen to my life? No, this isn't okay. I don't want to be responsible." But Pedro reassured her. "You won't, as long as you hit the book. As long as you hit the book, you'll be fine. Come on, the battery's gonna die on it. Come closer." Mona Lisa tried for him to retreat a bit more, but Pedro refused, urging her to pull the trigger. "Come on, right there, babe." Mona Lisa pulled the trigger.
I just want to see if a 50 caliber bullet can go through a book.
See, but what's even
That's the point of this video.
And he found out immediately. In the unreleased footage, Mona Lisa fires the gun from a distance of approximately 1 foot from the book shielding Pedro's chest. As soon as the 50 caliber bullet hits that book, Mona Lisa's tone immediately changes. "Stop, babe. Stop, babe," she said. Mona Lisa rushed into the house calling 911 and explained the absurd situation to the operator. Authorities had found Mr. Ruiz here with a gunshot wound to his chest, and despite the efforts of paramedics to revive him, his injury proved fatal. He died at the scene. So it turns out Mona Lisa was right to be hesitant. She ended up accidentally killing the father of her 2 sons and had to face the legal consequences. Initially, she'd faced charges of reckless discharge of a firearm, but these were elevated to second-degree manslaughter as part of a plea agreement. Mona Lisa accepted her responsibility and pled guilty to second-degree manslaughter. She received a sentence of 180 days in jail. However, due to her pregnancy and the circumstances of the case, a unique arrangement was made for her incarceration. She served 10 days in jail and 10 days out for the first 6 months, completing 90 days in total. The remaining 90 days were served under home confinement. She was even allowed to serve her sentence in South Dakota, where she relocated following the incident. Mona Lisa would be condemned to 10 years of supervised probation, permanently banned from firearm ownership, prohibited from profiting from the case in any way, and tasked with covering Pedro's funeral expenses. So if you expect to see a book or a movie based on this case, it's not going to happen.
If I die, I'll be ready for Jesus. He probably won't accept me into the pearly gates because how stupid this is.
After the ordeal, Mona Lisa Perez moved forward with her life. She formed a new relationship, continued being a mother for both of Pedro's sons, and even ventured into entrepreneurship, co-founding a streetwear clothing brand in South Dakota. Vote Saxon 07.
That's what would happen in the real world. Abso-fucking-notly. Abso-fucking-notly.
YouTuber Vote Saxon 07 made history by allegedly being the first person to use a live stream as an alibi for a crime. It was the morning of December 19th, 2022, when officers in Lurgan, Northern Ireland, responded to a distress call at a house in the area of Silverwood Green. They discovered the lifeless body of 32-year-old Natalie McNally. She was 15 weeks pregnant, and it was evident she was murdered. A man was quickly taken into custody. Stephen McCullough, 32, was married to the victim and immediately became the primary suspect in the case. But he had a strong alibi on his side, strong enough for him to be ruled out. He'd been streaming live on YouTube a long side mission of the infamous game Grand Theft Auto. He had thousands of witnesses, so he couldn't have anything to do with his woman's death. Or could he? The live stream, still up on YouTube and chillingly titled The Violent Night Christmas Live Gaming Stream, turned out to be anything but live. It was just a smokescreen covering up the crime. This guy had pre-recorded his session days earlier and proceeded to stream it the night of the murder. He even announced the event beforehand to his 37,000 followers, pretending it was all going to be in real time. But it should be easy for the followers to identify the scam, right? Live streams offer a live chat function. But Steven had thought this through and started his video by warning his viewers about some technical difficulties on his side. He really thought all about this in detail, covering the potential enormous plot hole which gave him a total of 6 hours of an almost perfect alibi.
Well, because this streaming software is kind of up the left, it means I can't check the live chat, which is a real shame. So, by all means, talk amongst yourselves.
This worked out so well for him that Natalie actually liked his tweet where he announced that he was live, completely unaware of him coming over to murder her. The alibi worked so smoothly for a brief period, but investigators really didn't leave it at that. They painstakingly went through about 4,000 hours worth of CCTV recordings and were able to determine his actual itinerary and locations during the murder's time frame. As if this weren't enough, they were able to compile a strong set of evidence against Stefan. They found the taxi driver who drove him around during that fake live stream. Once the prosecution showed that people watched a pre-recorded game session, the puzzle was complete. And this is why Stefan insisted on reiterating again and again during that stream that there was going to be no chat interaction with his audience. He insisted on it so much that it became suspicious, to say the least. He goes on for 6 whole minutes explaining the hundreds of reasons why he wouldn't be looking at the chat. From blaming streaming software to preaching against phone use and empty interactions with the viewers, the guy simply sets the whole thing up to create a plausible scenario.
Can't look at the live chat for some bloody reason, because if I do, it makes the whole thing freeze and OBS just screws up. In fact, I'm still live.
But this guy included plenty of other highly alarming moments in his stream. Moments that went unnoticed that night, but that are definitely creepy looking back on it in hindsight. He insists that he's staying in for the night, talks about drinking and driving, and even mocks the police's ability to deal with crimes in the real world. The guy was playing GTA Vice City through the stream, so it helps cover up some uncanny comments he throws around, seemingly out of nowhere, like mentioning Natalie's name in a menacing, sarcastic tone. The prosecution in this case also pointed out how that specific game is only one of 2 that allows a single-player format that would have allowed him to play the game alone rather than with another player. Even after admitting that the whole stream was fake and pre-recorded, Stefan insisted that he spent the night just drinking by himself, when referring to CCTV evidence, meticulously tracking his whereabouts throughout the crime's evening. Stefan adamantly denied it, and claims that someone else could have been dropped off in a taxi near his home.
I need to kill this bitch. I need to take her down.
McCullough would later face the prosecution's barrister and say there was no relevance to this and the comments were a tragic coincidence. Then it was shown that it took McCullough 2 tries to complete the mission on the game, which consisted of killing a woman, and the barrister emphasized his chilling comments. One more head-on hit and that would have been her. Lovely stuff. That's what we like to see. For the prosecution, it was clear that McCullough was brazenly taunting and leaving messages behind, in some kind of sick implementation of the well-known video game's Easter eggs tradition. Especially creepy instance of this is seen past the 3-hour mark of the stream. When this guy takes a break, the standby screen is inexplicably replaced by a James Bond movie poster, in which we get the title, No Time to Die. Additionally, there are other disturbing aspects to consider beyond the fake stream. McCullough remained close to Natalie's parents after her death, and on one occasion he left his phone at their house, purportedly to eavesdrop and record their conversations, trying to gauge if they suspected him. He then retrieved his phone 40 minutes later, claiming to have forgotten it. Police suspected it was an attempt to covertly monitor their discussions. Now, the evidence against Mr. McCullough is overwhelming, and he fails to provide a credible explanation for why he would fabricate the live stream. As for his motives, he only declared that if Miss McNally believed he was performing live, she would not text him or expect a reply to text messages, which only serves to raise more questions. Why would he want to avoid a conversation with his girlfriend if there wasn't any kind of strain in their relationship? His random mention of Natalie's name during the stream only adds to the suspicion. To this day, McCullough still hasn't been found guilty, and we're not seeing a conclusion to this case. Elliot Rogers.
The girls are not sexually attracted to me. There's a major problem with that.
On May 23, 2014, Elliot Rogers started his killing spree by stabbing his 2 roommates and another visiting friend to death. The men he killed at his residence were Wei-An Wang, age 20, Chang-Wan Hong, also 20, and George Chen, 19. A total of 142 stabs would end these 3 lives. He then proceeded to email his 142-page manifesto titled My Twisted World to 34 people, including family members, therapists, and some friends. Rogers was a guy known for his misogynistic and hateful views. A privileged life of the only son of a Hollywood executive and director wasn't enough to keep his killer instincts at bay. He gained posthumous notoriety after carrying out a mass shooting in Isla Vista, California in 2014. In just a few minutes, he killed 6 people and injured 14 others. Rogers recorded a video manifesto in which he blamed society for his actions, especially women and bullies. Roger had made several disturbing YouTube videos, venting his personal frustrations, and was a member of the insidious online community on a message board site called PUAHate.com. He recorded his progressive descent into hatred and despair until he killed his roommates. Then, after a pause to enjoy a triple vanilla latte from Starbucks, he recorded his final video to YouTube titled Retribution, which was a sort of condensed version of his written manifesto. In this video, he was seen ranting one last time about his problems to be noticed by girls, his unacceptable virginity, and the reasons why he considered the whole situation a farce against a superior individual like himself.
I, in all my magnificence and power, I will not let this fly.
Never having been able to even kiss a girl, Elliot was absolutely miserable. He believed girls made his life pure suffering, so he wanted to pay him in the same manner. He also wanted to kill all sexually active men, those actually capable of getting what he wanted, even against everything he considered logical. After finishing his final coffee and video, he intended to kill as many people as he could. So, shortly before 9:15 p.m., less than 2 hours after buying his latte, this guy drove to the Alpha Phi sorority house in Isla Vista, Santa Barbara. This is where all the hot girl stereotypes lived. Thus, it was the most important phase of his retribution plan.
After I've annihilated every single girl in the sorority house, I'll take to the streets of Isla Vista and slay every single person I see there.
Rachel Glikes, a resident of the sorority house, recounted hearing his persistent knocking on the door. Despite receiving no response, Rogers broke the silence. 6 to 7 gunshots, a female scream, followed by 3 additional gunshots. Before returning to his car, he shot through an open window, killing Veronica Weiss and Catherine Cooper, and wounding Bianca DeCock as they walked past the western wall of the sorority house. Then Elliot drove away. The first call came into Santa Barbara's County Dispatcher Center at 9:27 p.m. Rogers was still driving through Santa Barbara. On Partle Road, he fired a round into a coffee shop that, fortunately, was closed at the time. He then proceeded on foot to attack a small deli mart. He fired numerous gunshots into the store and killed a guy by the name of Christopher Michaels Martinez. The rampage continued. He kept driving and shooting from the car window. Near the junction of Embarcadero del Norte and Madrid Road, he swerved to hit a man, Jin Fu, who was crossing that road. The reports indicate that the car struck Fu with such force that his body flipped as he was thrown into the air. Thankfully, Fu survived. After hurting several more individuals and running over others with his car, Elliot crashed heavily into a parked car. Officers rushed to it. In the driver's seat, they found Rogers, his black Sig Sauer pistol loaded and cocked next to his hip. He was dead after shooting himself in the head. The 8-minute nightmare had come to an end. According to a police report, an estimated 55 9mm rounds were fired. He wounded 14 people, either by gunshot or hitting them with his car, and 6 others were dead, 7 if we include Elliot. The police had discovered another pistol, 2 knives, and more than 500 rounds of ammunition. Even when executing his plans hastily and impulsively, he delivered on his final promises.
You forced me to suffer all my life, and now I'll make you all suffer.
Searches in Rogers' apartment would reveal more disturbing items to complete his puzzle of hate and madness. We have more knives, including a 10-inch zombie killer fixed blade, an 18-inch machete, and a printout of his manifesto was a diary. The final handwritten entry reads, "This is it. In 1 hour I will have my revenge on this cruel world. I hate you all. Die." Randy Stair.
And high school, I was that typical jaded teenager, just don't want to be here, don't want to do anything. I'm bored with my life.
Social ineptitude, a dead-end job, an obsession with a Nickelodeon cartoon character, and a stack of mental problems that morphed into an intense case of gender dysphoria drove this 24-year-old man to perpetrate a heinous shooting at his workplace, caring so little as to choose his victims with the flip of a coin. And deep down one of his several personas, Randy Stairs, would kill 3 of his co-workers before taking his own life. Pioneers Productions was the name of Randy Stairs' YouTube channel. But this wouldn't be the last alias he would develop in his descent to madness. This guy recorded lots of footage of himself that can only be described as a progressive dive into insanity. He went from a visibly tormented animator, comedian, and vlogger to the perpetrator of a vile murder-suicide scenario. For approximately 7 years, Randy was employed at Weiss Markets, a supermarket found in Eaton Township, Pennsylvania. And during his leisure time, he engaged actively on social media and initiated his venture into video content creation in 2007. Initially, he produced short sketches and collaborated with other creators on a few videos.
Ghost from a TV show called Danny Phantom. Whenever I started feeling down and depressed, I thought of this character. She was always there when I got into this dark, depressing place.
However, in 2014, Randy shifted his focus, citing a series of unfortunate events in his personal life. That's when he started working on Ember's Ghost Squad, an animated series inspired by Nickelodeon's renowned show, Danny Phantom. Now, Randy's fixation on the character Ember intensified over time, leading to a complete personality crisis and his eventual downfall. Randy's increasing online presence provided insight into his troubled mental state. He consistently discussed his ongoing battle with depression, attributing its onset to the year 2013, marked by significant personal tragedies, including a car accident and the loss of 2 close individuals. Now, these events compounded Randy's existing emotional struggles, plunging him deeper into despair.
So I would either film a video or I would cross-dress. And that's something I've kept to myself my whole life. I never told anybody about this.
Randy's internal conflict, explicitly evidenced in the adoption of his YouTube persona, Andrew Blaze, extended to his gender identity. That's when he adopted a second online alter ego, an animated female character, to explore his gender dysphoria. Feeling like a female soul trapped within a male body, Randy here sought solace by occasionally presenting himself as a woman, particularly during moments of distress. His new animated alter ego was a ghost girl in love with his beloved character Ember from the Danny Phantom cartoon. The day he finally snapped, he uploaded the final episode of his animated series. This episode depicted Randy and the characters from the Ghost Squad engaging in a simulated shooting at Westboro High School, which was directly inspired by another recurrent obsession of his, the Columbine Massacre. However, this video remained unfinished, as Randy's collaborating voiceover partners failed to meet the requirements by the deadline. Additionally, other collaborators would drop out as well, highlighting the disturbing violent nature of Randy's content and its impact on those involved.
If you start showing affection and sympathy for high school shooters, you're gonna be locked up.
The meticulous planning of his crime over several months showcased the extent of Randy's disturbed mindset. His desire for posthumous fame and recognition, shown in his efforts to disseminate recordings and materials related to the shooting, underscored his profound disconnect from reality. In the end, he would decide if he would kill his family or his co-workers, by leaving it to fate. After many coin flips, fate pointed him towards his work acquaintances.
Okay, so here's the deal. Got a 1983 quarter right here. You believe in fate? Here's the fate test.
On June 7th, 2017, around 11 p.m., Randy arrived at the supermarket carrying a duffel bag containing 2 Mossberg 500 pump-action shotguns equipped with pistol grips. As the store closed, he positioned himself at the back and obstructed the emergency exit. Despite the impending tragedy, Randy proceeded with his duties, engaging in tasks such as cleaning and restocking shelves. At 12:10 a.m., he took to Twitter to share a series of links to files and videos related to his planned shooting. In a subsequent tweet, he mentioned carrying 2 shotguns as a precaution. Randy then proceeded to block the exits at the back of the store before moving to the main entrance, where he secured the automatic doors. With the scene set, he retrieved the 2 shotguns from his bag and started walking around the aisles of the store. Randy encountered Kristen Newell, a woman working on the stocking shelves and listening to music on her headphones. Unnoticed by Kristen, Randy stood beside her silently as she worked. After a brief moment, Kristen moved to the next aisle, and Randy proceeded through the store. He decided not to shoot Kristen, but his journey would end with the fatal shootings of 3 other employees. Terry Lee Sterling, 63, Brian Hayes, 47, and Victoria Brong, 25. As per the survivor's report, after fatally shooting one of the victims, Randy took a chilling moment to make eye contact with Kristen, who promptly fled and sought refuge in an area designated for employees, and managed to escape the store and alert emergency services.
There's gonna be so much adrenaline flowing through me. I'm gonna feel like more powerful than I ever have in my life. And there's not gonna be anyone that's gonna be able to stop me.
Apparently blinded by rage and completely out of his mind, Randy continued his destructive spree even after the killings, firing his shotgun all over the store, including at merchandise, glass fixtures, and propane tanks. The last of his erratic behavior seemed to indicate a desperate attempt to instigate an explosion, albeit unsuccessfully. Finally, in the deli section, Randy acted according to the last step of his meticulously crafted plan. He ended his life using the same shotgun he used to kill others, taking all his delusional fantasies and dysphoria with him, and thinking he was simply putting himself on the path toward the phantom world to which he always belonged.
I'm tired of my body. I'm tired of food. I'm tired of everybody.
During that rampage, Randy utilized one of the 2 shotguns he had brought with him, firing a staggering 59 times. When law enforcement responded to the scene, they discovered both the victims and Randy deceased. Subsequent examination through autopsy disclosed that Randy had consumed a significant quantity of Benadryl before his demise, so he was allegedly high during the shooting, maybe in the middle of a serious overdose. Side effects would include suffering from impaired vision, dizziness, and even a general state of confusion topped with seizures and hallucinations.
This is Andrew Blaze, signing off for the last time.